If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. This video is important. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to put too many pictures up other than pictures of mold, but you need to understand why I am and what I'm talking about. One of the things that, and look, I'm not a person who pats myself on the back or is a confident person or anything like that. I mean, I guess I'm confident, but I don't think I'm smarter than anyone else or I know anything better. I think the one gift that I have and I've always had is, I can talk to people, I can break things down and simplify things, right? So when a lot of people hear this stuff about what's going on in the world and why they want a specific thing inside people, this, a certain potion from Disney, so to speak, a magic potion, I've been trying to think of ways that I could explain it because I know that some of this stuff is just like, it flies over a lot of people's heads, right? A lot of you are young and you're hearing this, you're just like, I don't get it. I don't understand it. And I think a lot of people automatically think, when they think of a potion, they think of just almost something like rubbing alcohol, right? Or taking a Tylenol. And, you take it and your body absorbs it. And, it might not like it at first, but it absorbs it and it kicks it. And that's why I want to make this comparison to mold, because I want you to understand what is happening inside of human beings. Just imagine not eating mold, because if you ate mold, yes, you could get sick. You could have extreme diarrhea. No different if you go to Taco Bell. But yes, extreme diarrhea. You can get very sick to the stomach. You could have food poisoning. You have a lot of things can happen. And of course, I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving medical information or anything like that. But it's not good. You wouldn't eat mold. If you saw moldy bread, you would probably run. It's frightening, right? Nobody wants to eat moldy bread. No one even wants to look at moldy bread. So look at it from this standpoint. And don't think of it from the standpoint of, well, it's no different than, hey, you take, an antibiotic or you take, look at it from the standpoint of mold inside of you, because you've heard all of these words about a certain spike in certain things, right? Spike, spike, spike. How many times have we heard it from everyone, from the Gates man all the way down, about spikes? Well, what spikes does is spikes keeps this inside of you so that it doesn't leave. So it's almost like mold staying inside of you, or something disgusting like this where they can't get rid of it.
Lafayette man is pointing the finger at his apartment complex over what appears to be black mold.
He lives at University Place Apartments and is calling his apartment a biohazard. Micah Hatfield takes us inside and also finds out what the complex is doing. All new tonight.
Kelly Jenkins entered his bedroom for the first time in a week at University Place last Friday to find standing water from a leaky pipe.
That's when I looked into my bedroom and there was just mold everywhere. There was still about 1.5 inches of standing water there.
He says his clothes, laptop, furniture, and books are all covered with mold, and he now has a rash and a cough. Jenkins says he reported the problem on Friday to management and University Place Apartments, and several times since then.
They just come in, look at the mold, and leave. The first attempt was they sent a maintenance guy with a spray bottle of bleach to come in and get rid of the mold, but you can't do that with this amount of mold.
Management tells us they've offered Jenkins several places to live, but he's declined.
Now, I use this as an example because I have people myself that I'm trying to wake up, and I'm trying to keep away from reboosting their lives, so to speak. And I try to use this as an example because this is not something that you can just detox out. The spikes continue to jump and spike and stay. And the more you boost, the more you keep. And the more that happens, the more, and that's why mold is almost like the perfect example, right? Because you think of the black goo, right? Think of the black goo and look at mold. Very similar, so to speak. Mold continuing to spread, right? If you don't take care of mold or treat mold, it's hard to treat mold. Well, just imagine it inside of you, but not from eating a piece of bread, like I said earlier. not from having, oh, wow, I ate a piece of bread that was covered in mold. No, that's not the point. Not eating a piece of bread, putting something in you that could have the same effects like mold. It spreads, it jumps on you, it stays in you, and it continues to multiply like Bebe's kids, if anyone gets that reference. That's why it's important to know this type of stuff and to be able to use things like that as an example, because when you can't see what's going on inside of you, you don't know. And of course, like I've said this for a decade before my channel. If people don't see an instant reaction or something like that, they just automatically laugh it off and dismiss it. There are people who are going to perish from a potion at some point in their lives. Okay? They're going to go and they're going to have some type of failure, kidney, liver, and they're going to assume that it's cancer or something else. They're never going to correlate that with this. If this thing was spontaneous and all this stuff happened spontaneously, then people would go, holy crap, this stuff's really going on. They're really trying to do this. That's the point. But on top of them trying to do this, they're trying to morph humanity. They aren't just trying to destroy humanity. Those who reject it will end up being destroyed because their bodies won't be able to take it. That's why, the older folk, sorry for the cougars out there, or I guess above cougars, might not be able to handle it. And that's one of the reasons over the last century or so, you have heard nothing but pushing of fitness and well-being. It's not just about getting, this type of technology inside of you so you could track and trace and be obsessed with your own personal health. It's also about building up immune system so your immune system can handle this. Because they don't necessarily want everyone to croak. They want people to be able to be hosts for what they're going to do. And that's why it's complicated for people to understand. And I'm not going to go down that road in this video. But I want you to look at it and think about it from the standpoint of mold. Mold, right? It's gross. It grows on you. It spreads. Well, not on you. It grows on things, right? We've all seen mold. I'm sure you've opened up Wonder Bread one time. You left it out for a week and didn't put it in the fridge. Suddenly you got a little gray spot on it, brown spot. You see the apartment buildings, people have mold, which, I don't know how people are living like that, but, I guess if you can't afford to live another way, it's unfortunate. But you see how mold spreads. That's the same exact thing. That's the correlation I'm trying to make. Because what happens is you don't flush out. It spreads on you. So just imagine mold in you. Just like on that wall or inside of food, spreading. If you don't get rid of the food that has the mold on it and you go back 3 days later, what do you see? Is the mold just in one spot or does the mold spread? If you leave a loaf of bread on the counter for a month and you go on vacation, is it just going to be a dot of mold or an entire loaf of mold? Loaf. It's going to have hair on it, fuzz. That's because it spreads. Well, that's what spikes do. They spread. So I just want to make that clear to people out there who are listening so that you have at least, just even if it's a minimal understanding of saying, okay, well, why and what? Because I know the common thought when people hear this is like, okay, you do it, you have it. It's like rubbing alcohol on your skin or something, or taking amoxicillin or taking Tylenol. It's not like that. It's not. Think of it like mold growing inside of you. And the more you put mold in you, just say hypothetically, not saying the more loaves of bread of mold you eat, because you're probably going to be really sick and go to the hospital or, something. But just think of the more mold that would be growing in you, how bad that could be for you, the more that you're putting it inside. So I wanted to do a video just talking about it from that perspective. I've been thinking and, just sitting and trying to think of ways I can explain this stuff because there's so many young teens. And I know if you're older, you're like, yeah, duh. I get it. But you have to understand. Just imagine when you were 15, 18, 20. I mean, I would never have ever done any of this or taken any of this. I never experimented with drugs or anything like that. So I would never, I certainly wouldn't have done this, I should say, or even if there was one then. But it's hard to understand because you just hear and think, well, and then you see so-and-so get it, and you're like, oh, so-and-so's okay, so-and-so survived, so-and-so doesn't have this, and they don't think about the long-term effects. And the spreading, it spreads, it grows. That's why more of it's needed in people, because then suddenly you wake up one day, hey, you might not be human. As crazy as it sounds. But, if you're trying to wake people up, you don't have to tell them that standpoint of it, because that'll make their heads spin like The Exorcist. But from the standpoint of understanding that this isn't something that you just can detox out, right? Like, you drink a bottle of Jack Daniels, you smoke weed, you take Tylenol, you're sick and you take antibiotics, and you eventually detox it out of your body. It's not like that. That's what people need to get. So I left the logo and stuff on the screen, because it's a nice logo, right? But you understand where I'm coming from. And I wanted to do this video I get it. Most of you get it, but I know there's a lot that don't. And what matters most is the people that don't, because they're the ones that'll likely do it. And I'm not saying that you guys don't matter who know, but we got to reach these people. And this is why, I get all these questions. Go to BitChute. I mean, every day I get, go to BitChute, go to Rumble. Must have heard it over the last 3 years, like 8 million times a day. All right, not that much, but maybe 8 million times a year, because this channel does get a pretty good amount of views per month. But the reason is because there aren't people over there. Kids aren't like, coming over to school. I'm going to head on BitChute. BitChute's like where the people who are already awake are, right? And I can go over there and I could do crypto. I mean, the point is that people on here are finding this stuff. They're looking. And they're looking for answers, and they're also looking for things simplified. And I could sit here and I can give you terminology, and I could talk about, specific things with DNA and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, some people, they're like, and not to say we live in a dumbed down society, but even when I was a kid, I didn't want to hear that stuff. I didn't want to hear Bill Nye. They used to play Bill Nye. I don't know how old I was. Pretty old. I mean, Bill Nye would get played in schools. Who was watching that? Or other things, I guess they were playing to me in schools. I mean, my head was on the desk. I was in a coma. I wasn't watching it like, oh, this is so interesting. It was a snooze fest. Words you can't understand, things you don't get. And that's what a lot of people keep hearing, stuff they don't understand. They don't know how to process it. So just think of it as something as simple as that, a loaf of bread with mold. Because that's what happens with the spike. And ironically, of course, it's black, or it can be gray. Actually, it can be yellow too. But I always think of mold as like a black dot, and it's spreading, kind of like you saw on the wall. But I hope this in some way helps you understand. And I want to do this. And again, there's a chance, always that this channel gets taken down. So make sure you sub to my other channel. I'm doing the best I can. Hopefully I see you guys over on the website at callforuprising.com. And, we could share information over there as well, but I'm just trying everything I can to figure out how to avoid this stuff. I also have, the backside of it is the cancel culture, the people who love the backside. And just like, the fact that I'm not in on the, John Bobbittizing oneself, makes them flag pretty much every single thing that I do, even though they don't have any clue about any of this stuff that any of us are talking about. They just care about their feelings and stuff. And I'm not even trying to hurt anyone's feelings. People have been completely misled in pretty much everything that they believe in their lives. But, they look at it from the total opposite perspective with people like us and me specifically, that, we're here to cause harm. We're not. I'm not here to hurt anyone, not physically, but they hear what they want to hear and they do what they want to do. So it's hard for me to continue to, speak, but I got to keep doing what I can do, trying to stay positive, which is extremely hard for somebody who's not particularly a positive person, which is me. But anyway, I wanted to make this for people out there, just give you a different perspective. Obviously, I think you could figure out what I'm talking about. Don't eat moldy bread. That's what I'm talking about. Do not eat moldy bread or moldy brownies. Do brownies get mold? Moldy muffins, anything with mold. Stay away. All right? I thank you guys for being here. Hope you're all well. God bless you and your families.